A remarkable discovery in Jerusalem, with researchers uncovering a burial slab where the body of Jesus may have been laid after his crucifixion.
A sensational new claim by an Emmy Award-winning filmmaker has reignited debate over archaeology, the Bible, and profiting from claims about Jesus.
And a new exhibition has been launched that aims to portray, like never before, the body that was wrapped in that shroud.
Minutes ago, scientists discovered the tomb of Jesus at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. This significant discovery has shed new light on religious history. This ancient church, central to Christian faith, is believed to be the site of his death as described in the New Testament. Originally a pagan temple, it was replaced by Emperor Constantine with the current church, where a tomb believed to be his was found. Now, could this discovery be the dark, hidden answer to a 2,000-year-old mystery? Let's take a closer look at the implications of this groundbreaking discovery and uncover what it truly means for history and faith, exposing Jerusalem's ancient secrets. In an important expedition, experts found some surprising things at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. This church has long been a key destination for pilgrims, attracting countless believers who seek a connection with the divine. According to the New Testament, Jesus died at Golgotha, also known as the place of the skull, which was once a quarry just outside the ancient city. Shortly after his death, the city expanded, and this sacred spot ended up within Jerusalem's new walls, where the Church of the Holy Sepulchre now stands. According to the New Testament, Jesus died at Golgotha, also known as the place of the skull, which was once a quarry just outside the ancient city. When Emperor Constantine I became a Christian, he ordered the removal of a pagan temple dedicated to Venus and had a church built in its place. During the demolition, a grave believed to be that of Jesus was discovered. Pilgrims visiting the church would climb a staircase off Jerusalem's main street, passing through impressive structures like the narthex, a basilica, and a garden with Golgotha's rock, finally reaching the sacred sepulchre. But this wasn't the most surprising part. In the year 326, Constantine's mother, St. Helena, went to Jerusalem and found what was believed to be the true cross, the very site where the crucifixion occurred. This discovery became widely known by the early 5th century. By the 11th century, a cave beneath the church ruins was called the Chapel of the Invention of the Cross. In 614, the church was destroyed by a Persian army who took the true cross, but it was returned in 631 after Byzantine Emperor Heraclius negotiated its recovery. After the Arabs took over Jerusalem in 638, Christians and Muslims lived together peacefully at first, but over time things changed. The church's entrance was turned into a mosque, and in 966, riots caused a fire that damaged the church's dome. In 1009, the Fatimid Caliph al-Hakim ordered the church's destruction. However, Byzantine Emperor Constantine IX Monomachos later funded a major reconstruction, changing the church's layout and adding a new southern entrance. This new version of the church attracted pilgrims from all over the world in the late 11th century. Although Muslim rulers mostly respected these pilgrims, things got harder when the Seljuk Turks arrived in 1077, restricting Christian access. But this wasn't the end of the story. The deep desire to reclaim these holy places led to the First Crusade between 1096 and 1099. After the Crusaders captured Jerusalem, the few survivors gathered to pray in the now roofless Church of the Holy Sepulchre, a powerful symbol of their unwavering faith amidst the ruins. Over the next 50 years, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre went through a lot of changes. While the original structure stayed the same, it was transformed into a grand cathedral influenced by Western European architecture. The garden around the church was developed into the Crusaders' Basilica, and a new chapel was built to honor the Rock of Golgotha. On July 15, 1149, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre was officially rededicated, marking 50 years since Jerusalem was captured during the First Crusade. But even after this event, construction continued. Today, the church looks much like it does to modern visitors. As more pilgrims visited the site, plans were put in place to manage the growing crowds. This is why there are 2 doorways still present today. Beautiful lintels, which were once crossed by countless pilgrims, were moved to the Rockefeller Museum in Jerusalem after an earthquake in 1927. When Muslims took back the city in 1187, One of the church's entrances was permanently closed. But even under Muslim rule, pilgrims were still allowed to visit, and Western leaders often negotiated to keep access open. Archaeologists later made an amazing discovery at this historic site, finding what they believed to be the burial place. Inside the tomb, they found ancient mortar under the stone slab, thought to be where the body was laid, dating back to the time of Emperor Constantine. This discovery supports the historical stories about where Christians believe the burial occurred. Going back further in time, Emperor Constantine, the first Christian Roman emperor, and his mother Helena are believed to have found the tomb around 325 to 326 AD. Driven by a vision, Constantine set out to find this sacred site. Their search led them to Jerusalem, where they focused on an old Roman temple, probably dedicated to Venus. As they explored this ancient site, they were ready to uncover its hidden truths. The Roman temple, rich with history, became the center of their exploration. When they began dismantling the temple, they found a tomb carved into a limestone cave. Every line carved into the marble and every shape of the burial platform carries echoes from ancient times. These details connect the past to the present, showing the respect and devotion of pilgrims and believers. The tomb is more than just a physical space. It's a bridge to centuries of reverence and reflection, inviting everyone who visits to engage with a story that is literally carved in stone. Next, we'll explore the scientific discoveries related to the mortar found in the tomb. Led by Chief Scientific Supervisor Antonia Marapoulou, a team of experts studied mortar samples from different parts of the edicule, the structure that protects the tomb. Their findings surprised people all over the world. The research focused on the mortar, a piece of architectural history. By using radiocarbon dating on samples from different areas of the edicule, the team uncovered details that had been hidden for a long time. Recent tests have shed light on the timeline of the edicule's construction. Learning that the base slab was likely set in the mid-4th century adds an important layer to the history of this sacred site. Connecting this to the time of Emperor Constantine enriches the story, suggesting that the early days of the edicule were shaped by this important ruler. With these connections to the past revealed, we'll now explore how they impact current theological debates and historical studies in the next section. Decoding the edicule's deep history. This connection not only deepens our understanding, but also highlights the complex history of the monument. Identifying the edicule's origins in the mid-4th century provides new insights into its architectural development, linking it to Roman history. These discoveries are exciting for those who study this holy site, as they place the dating of the edicule's foundational slab as evidence of the ongoing quest for historical accuracy. The mortar samples, which were silent for so long, now reveal information about Emperor Constantine's influence and those who built Jesus' sacred resting place. To uncover this, scientists used a technique called optically stimulated luminescence, OSL. This method helps determine when the quartz in the mortar last saw light, which is important because it gives us exact details about the timing. The samples were tested in 2 different labs, each contributing to our understanding of the timeline through OSL, with the goal of decoding the history hidden in the quartz. This study showed how the sediment interacted with light over time, giving clues about when the mortar was changed. Questions arose about whether the reconstructed church reflects the holy site identified by a Roman delegation 17 centuries ago. Even with these uncertainties, the church remains a symbol of Jerusalem's timeless essence, encouraging deep thought and exploration of the intertwined stories of faith and history. As research continued on the mortar samples from the southern wall of the cave, a historical timeline began to emerge, connecting construction activities between 335 AD and a known renovation in the 16th century. The faint echoes within the walls of the edicule tell stories of the long and rich history of this sacred place. The southern wall of the structure shows signs of age, with remnants from the Roman era hinting at the many changes it has undergone. Experts have used modern scientific methods to trace the timeline of the various builders and restorers who have worked on the site over the centuries. A significant discovery was made when they analyzed the mortar at the tomb's entrance, finding elements that date back to the 11th century, when the edicule was carefully rebuilt after being destroyed in 1009. This finding highlights the dedication and resilience of those who worked tirelessly to restore and preserve this holy site. But the discovery of these ancient materials did more than just reveal their age. It also honored the craftsmen and restorers who, through their skill and dedication, have kept the edicule standing for so long. Today, the tomb attracts millions of visitors each year and is maintained by priests from various Christian denominations, following traditions established during the Ottoman era. While the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is the main destination for pilgrims, there are 6 other sites in Jerusalem that some believe could be the original burial place of Jesus. Among these, the Talpiot family tomb is particularly noteworthy. Discovered in 1980 and later featured in the 2007 Discovery Channel documentary, The Lost Tomb of Jesus, this site gained international attention. Inside the Talpiot tomb, archaeologists found 10 ossuaries, some with names like Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. One ossuary inscribed with Mary Ameni is thought to belong to Mary Magdalene, suggesting a possible marital connection. Other ossuaries labeled Jude, son of Jesus, and Jesus, son of Joseph, have sparked debates about whether there was a son named Jude. However, because these names were common in first century Judea, they don't necessarily point directly to the biblical figures. The documentary's creators, Cameron and Jacobovici, might have read too much into these common names, suggesting family ties that may not actually exist. Supporters of the Talpiot tomb theory often mention DNA tests showing no maternal link between the named figures as evidence of a marital relationship, but critics argue that it could indicate another type of kinship, such as paternal. However, more chemical tests tried to connect the James ossuary to the Talpiot tomb by analyzing soil traces, though doubts remain due to the small sample size and differences in the ossuary's features compared to others found in the tomb. The documentary faced criticism for possibly misrepresenting expert opinions, especially from scholars other than James Tabor, who questioned the filmmaker's conclusions. This highlights the need to be cautious when accepting these claims. But here's the tricky part. Supporters of the Talpiot tomb theory must explain why the family, who were of modest means from Galilee, would have had a rock-cut tomb in Jerusalem, a luxury typically reserved for the wealthy. Archaeologist Jody Magnus points out that the customs of the time favored simpler burial practices for those who were not affluent. Magnus points out that the inscriptions on the caskets in the Talpiot tomb suggest they come from Judea. In Judea, people were often identified by their own name, followed by their father's name. This is different from the way people in Galilee were recognized, where they were usually known by their name and the town they came from. It's like trying to solve a simple puzzle. The pieces just don't fit into the Galilean way of doing things. Back in 1883, the Garden Tomb became a well-known burial site, largely because Charles Gordon believed it was important. Because of his efforts, it became known as Gordon's Tomb. The site is very peaceful and draws many visitors, especially evangelical Christians, who see it as the place where he was buried. However, the Garden Tomb's historical claims are surrounded by controversy. This is mainly due to Gordon's unusual idea that Jerusalem looked like a skeleton, with Skull Hill representing the skull. Making things even more confusing, Ron Wyatt falsely claimed that he found the Ark of the Covenant nearby. To add to the doubts, archaeologists have not found any tombs from the time of the Second Temple in the area. The journey continues as we trace the ripples of these discoveries, leading us to uncover more layers of history in the chapters to come. Exploring the history of the Garden Tomb, archaeologist Gabriel Barquet discovered that the tomb at the Garden Tomb dates back to the Iron Age, around the 7th or 8th centuries BC. It resembles tombs from the First Temple period, like those found near the Basilica of St. Stephen. This means that, unlike the description in John chapter 19, verse 41, the Garden Tomb wasn't newly built during Jesus' time. It was already centuries old. This fact rules it out as a possible site for his burial. Another debated site is the Tomb of the Shroud in the Kidron Valley. It is known for being close to the Garden of Gethsemane and is often linked to stories about Joseph of Arimathea. The tomb carved from rock was a common style in ancient Judea and is thought to be significant, possibly connected to the crucifixion and burial. It got its name from an old burial shroud found there, which some believe ties it to Joseph of Arimathea, who, according to the New Testament, provided a tomb for Jesus after the crucifixion. But doubts remain as there isn't much archaeological evidence, and experts have different views on its historical importance. Even with these uncertainties, the site remains popular with visitors because of its spiritual significance and the fascinating theories about its connection to Jesus' burial. The Dominus Flevit Church on the Mount of Olives, another suggested site for his burial, may not be as famous as the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, but it still holds great spiritual meaning. The church, designed by Italian architect Antonio Barlucci, is shaped like a teardrop, representing his tears over Jerusalem. It offers a stunning view of the Old City and has a nearby rock-cut tomb linked to Joseph of Arimathea, adding more historical and religious interest for those exploring Jerusalem's holy sites. But that's not all. The tomb of the Virgin Mary in the Kidron Valley is also revered by some as the burial place of Jesus' mother. Despite limited historical evidence connecting Mary to the site, many pilgrims visit it because of its importance in Christian tradition. The deep respect for Mary and the stories passed down through generations make this site a popular destination for visitors. Joseph of Arimathea is a key figure in the New Testament, known for offering his own tomb for the burial. However, where exactly this tomb is located remains a mystery, with different theories suggesting various places. Some believe it's in the Kidron Valley, while others point to different sites. This uncertainty makes it challenging to pinpoint Joseph's final resting place after his crucial role in the burial. These possible locations are deeply revered and hold great historical and spiritual significance for visitors. These sites are important parts of the Christian tradition, attracting both pilgrims and scholars who want to explore the stories passed down through the ages. The ongoing search to find the exact spot of the burial fascinates many who are interested in the historical and spiritual aspects of this event. In 2017, experts began a major restoration of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, which is believed to be the site of his crucifixion, burial, and resurrection. Over the centuries, this church has undergone many changes, drawing the attention of historians and archaeologists. The main goal of the restoration was to strengthen the edicule, a small shrine within the church that holds the tomb. The edicule, first built in the early 19th century, has had many repairs over the years due to wear and tear, including cracks in the marble and unstable foundations. The restoration team aimed to secure this sacred site. But this wasn't the most surprising part. While working on the edicule, the team made an incredible discovery. By carefully removing the marble from the tomb's inner chamber, they found a hidden room that had been sealed and forgotten for centuries. This chamber, closed off during renovations in 1555, didn't contain any human remains or notable artifacts. Still, it highlighted the long, complex history of the church and the secrets buried beneath its walls. Archaeologists quickly recognized the importance of this find as it added to the ongoing efforts to understand the Church of the Holy Sepulchre's past. The discovery of this sealed chamber, even without new artifacts, opened up new possibilities for research and reminded everyone that even well-studied sites like this one can still hold unknown stories. It sparked new interest in the church's intricate history. Meanwhile, the search for the burial site has expanded beyond Jerusalem to a nearby town called Talpiot. In 1980, a tomb was discovered in Talpiot containing 10 ossuaries, which are bone boxes, and this tomb has attracted a lot of attention. Among these ossuaries, one is inscribed with the name Yeshua bar Yehoseph, Jesus, son of Joseph, and another is marked Mariamene Amira, Mary, known as the Master. These inscriptions have sparked significant debate among scholars. Some argue that names like Yeshua and Mariamene were common in that period, so these findings could be purely coincidental and not necessarily related to the biblical figures. The interpretation of Mariamene Amira as Mary, known as the Master, is especially controversial. Even with these debates, the Talpiot tomb remains an important subject in biblical archaeology, contributing to the larger investigation into Jesus' life and death. While there's no conclusive evidence linking this site to his burial, it adds another layer to the ongoing research about the historical and archaeological context of his life. The quest to uncover more about his final resting place continues to captivate scholars and believers alike, inviting them to delve deeper into the past. What do you think about the findings at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre?
The mysteries of Uruk's lost civilization. Think about the story of King Gilgamesh and the city he ruled. If we could travel back to around 2700 BCE, we'd find ourselves in the heart of the Mesopotamian civilization during its early dynastic period. This time was critical, with new groups of people likely bringing fresh ideas and skills into the region. City-states began to pop up all over Mesopotamia. Among them, Uruk, ruled by Gilgamesh, stood out as more than just another city. Gilgamesh wasn't just a king. He became a legendary figure whose story often blurs the line between fact and myth. Uruk was a significant city-state in Sumer, located along the fertile banks of the Euphrates River in what is now Iraq. Imagine a bustling city filled with market activities, impressive temple complexes, and the famous Wall of Uruk, which is said to have been built by Gilgamesh himself. The city's architecture was carefully planned, showing how deliberate and organized the people were in developing their urban environment. But this isn't the whole story. The people of Uruk weren't just getting by. They were pioneers and builders who shaped their surroundings to meet their needs. Their contributions to architecture and city planning are still admired today, as seen in the ruins of their city. The fact that they pulled off such large-scale projects shows they were highly organized and driven, likely under the leadership of a powerful figure who could inspire and direct the community. While their technology might seem simple by today's standards, it was cutting edge for their time. And there's a chance they had access to advanced knowledge or techniques from outside sources, hinting that our understanding of early technology might only scratch the surface of what they truly achieved. It turns out that ancient civilizations were much more advanced than we often think. They didn't just survive, they thrived by using their resources and knowledge to their full potential. When we look at the remains of their cities and the stories they left behind, we start to wonder about the people who lived there. What were their daily lives like? How did they manage their resources, govern their communities, and protect their cities from dangers? Figures like Gilgamesh help us understand these questions, blending facts with legends to give us a clearer picture of their leadership and social norms. The evidence we find through archaeology and tales like those of Gilgamesh and Noah reveal a more detailed and complex history than we might expect. These discoveries make us rethink the skills and achievements of our ancestors and consider the rich heritage they've left for us to explore and reinterpret. Uruk wasn't just any city. It was a center of culture, commerce, and innovation. It led the way in many firsts for human history, such as the invention of cuneiform writing. But what was life really like under the rule of King Gilgamesh? Imagine a leader who was not just human but considered almost divine, essential to his people's well-being. Under his rule, Uruk became a major center for religious worship, especially for Inanna, one of the main goddesses in Sumerian religion. In ancient Uruk, where history and legend meet, a king steps forward to shape his city's destiny. The lost legacy of Uruk's architectural marvels. During Gilgamesh's time, Uruk was a shining example of Sumerian achievement in architecture, city planning, and social organization. The city was bustling with people, reflecting its status as one of the most important cities of its era. As king, Gilgamesh likely took charge of the city's administration, religious events, and military efforts to protect Uruk's interests. His leadership probably led to the construction of impressive buildings that not only made the city more beautiful, but also stronger. These efforts helped solidify Uruk's place in ancient history. It's easy to overlook the full extent of these achievements if we're just looking for simple examples of human progress. However, current research and exploration show that there's a renewed interest in the incredible feats of our ancient ancestors. But this isn't the end of the story. As we look further into history, King Gilgamesh emerges as a fascinating figure who blurs the line between myth and reality. He continues to intrigue historians and archaeologists. While the line between the mythical hero and the historical figure is often unclear, various archaeological findings suggest that Gilgamesh likely did exist in ancient Mesopotamia. Let's consider the Sumerian king list as an example. This document isn't just a record of history. It mixes real events with stories about gods and heroes, listing the kings of Sumer and how long they ruled. Gilgamesh, a famous figure, appears on this list. His inclusion suggests that he might have been a real king, not just a character from old stories. Different versions of this list have been found in various places and from different times, highlighting its importance to the Sumerians in recording their leaders, with Gilgamesh playing a key role in their history. If we explore the ancient city of Uruk, we might discover old knowledge. There are physical pieces of evidence, like carvings and artifacts. Imagine finding a tablet or a small engraved cylinder with Gilgamesh's name on it. These objects don't give us a complete picture of his reign, but they do confirm that he was recognized as a king. Found throughout ancient Sumerian sites, these items suggest that Gilgamesh was remembered not only as a legendary hero, but also as an important figure in their society. But here's the tricky part. Separating the real Gilgamesh from the legendary stories about him is like trying to untangle a knotted rope. The archaeological finds we have don't fully tell us about his life or achievements. They only offer bits and pieces, leaving us to guess at the details of his rule. This limited historical information makes Gilgamesh a mysterious figure, hidden in the fog of ancient history. This lack of clear historical records makes it hard for us to understand who Gilgamesh really was and what he achieved. While artifacts like tablets and carvings give us some clues, they don't paint a full picture. They leave us with many unanswered questions, leading to ongoing debates among historians about his true impact and legacy. Was he really as powerful and wise as the stories suggest? Or have the tales grown more elaborate over time? But that's not the only interesting part. Gilgamesh's allure isn't just about whether he really existed. It's also about what he represents about the culture and time he lived in. His story, blending history and legend, gives us insights into how the ancient Mesopotamians viewed their leaders and their world. They saw their kings as larger-than-life figures who were crucial to their survival and success. This view has persisted over time, shaping how we think about ancient leadership and achievements today. By studying Gilgamesh's life and the era he lived in, we can piece together a broader understanding of ancient Sumerian life, deepening our knowledge of their values, struggles, and successes. Every new discovery in this area adds to the puzzle, slowly bringing into focus a clearer picture of how this civilization accomplished so much. It reminds us of the complexity of human history and the richness of our shared past, encouraging us to keep searching, asking questions, and exploring. As we uncover old stories of Gilgamesh, ancient tablets reveal the truth behind his epic adventures. Exploring ancient myths. But let's not forget, the evidence we've found about the Epic of Gilgamesh also connects what might be real history with what could be exaggerated stories. The story of Gilgamesh is recorded on clay tablets using cuneiform, one of the earliest forms of writing created by the clever Sumerians. This story isn't just another ancient myth. It takes us back to around 2100 BCE, during the Third Dynasty of Ur, although its roots go back even further to older Sumerian poems about Gilgamesh. Modern scholars began to uncover this narrative when archaeologists in the 19th century found parts of it in the ruins of the library at Nineveh. Imagine trying to piece together a puzzle made of ancient clay fragments, each one offering a glimpse into a deep and engaging story. While some pieces are lost forever, what remains vividly shows the limitless potential of human creativity and imagination. The story of Gilgamesh, an ancient king, beautifully captures the spirit of the people from long ago. Gilgamesh wasn't just an ordinary king. He was part god and part human, with incredible strength and bravery that surpassed ordinary men and even other legendary heroes. His life is full of wild adventures and a deep desire to achieve eternal fame. Take, for instance, his journey to the cedar forest, where he fights Humbaba, a moment that truly shows his bravery. But what really changes him is the death of his close friend, Enkidu. This event pushes him into a desperate search for immortality, only to realize that death is something no one can escape. The friendship between Enkidu and Gilgamesh is a powerful part of the story. The gods created Enkidu from the clay of the wilderness to help control Gilgamesh's overwhelming pride. Enkidu starts as a wild being, but eventually becomes Gilgamesh's closest companion. Their bond deeply affects the story, showing how meaningful relationships can change a person and reveal deep truths about life. At its core, the Epic of Gilgamesh is about chasing after fame and coming to terms with the fact that everyone must face death, which, as the story tells us, is unavoidable. The story highlights how important friendships are in helping us understand and accept our humanity. Throughout this epic tale, we see some of the most intense interactions between humans and gods found in any ancient story. Gilgamesh's adventures go beyond simple acts of bravery and his quest for eternal life. They also explore how people in ancient Mesopotamia saw their gods and how these gods influenced their lives. For example, there's his encounter with Utnapishtim, who is like the ancient version of Noah, surviving a great flood because the gods warned him in advance, leading him to build a boat. This meeting is crucial for Gilgamesh, who is searching for the secret to living forever, and finds Utnapishtim, a man who the gods granted eternal life. The story not only entertains, but also shows how the gods made important decisions about life and death, highlighting the immense power they held in Mesopotamian mythology. Throughout the epic, Gilgamesh's interactions with different gods reveal how the ancient Mesopotamians viewed the world around them. For instance, Enkidu was created by a goddess because the gods believed Gilgamesh needed someone to check his arrogance. Then there's Ishtar, the goddess of love and war, who gets furious when Gilgamesh rejects her. So she sends a celestial bull to cause chaos as revenge. And let's not forget Humbaba, the fierce guardian of the cedar forest, appointed by the god Enlil. The battle with Humbaba is not just an exciting fight. It's a complex story about human desires clashing with the will of the gods. The mix of gods and human ambition blurs as we explore the deeper meaning of Gilgamesh's journey. Gilgamesh and the gods. But the story doesn't end there. As we dive into the adventures of Gilgamesh, we try to uncover who he really was behind all the myths. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, the gods are always watching and often step in, whether by creating beings like Enkidu or throwing challenges like heavenly bulls in Gilgamesh's path. The gods of ancient Mesopotamia were deeply connected to the fates of both heroes and ordinary people. This ongoing interaction between divine plans and human dreams is a key theme, showing the strong belief of the people back then that their lives were shaped by the whims of their gods. These stories, full of fantastical elements, give us a glimpse into how the ancient Sumerians saw their world, a place where humans and gods were always interacting, with humans often trying to understand their place in a universe ruled by powerful gods. For example, Gilgamesh often had the sun god Shamash guiding him, always ready to lead him on his adventures. The ancient stories of Earth, it's clear that gods played an active role. Take Gilgamesh's mother, Ninsun, for example. Even though she wasn't one of the major goddesses, she still stepped in to help her son succeed. This blending of ordinary people with their powerful celestial companions makes it hard to tell where one ends and the other begins. When you look back at ancient Mesopotamia, you'll find the Anunnaki, a group of gods that often appear in Sumerian and Akkadian stories. They were seen as incredibly important, though it's tough to understand why from today's perspective. Over time, these gods were often represented as planets and stars, showing their strong connection to the heavens. The Anunnaki, who were linked to the sun, moon, and Venus, showed how deeply people believed that what happened in the sky was connected to the actions of the gods. When people survived disasters, they usually fell into two categories: those who got lucky and those who saw trouble coming and prepared for it. It's likely that some people did predict these disasters. Discussions about world-changing events have always been common, with theories like the Nibiru cataclysm and Randall Carlson's ideas about recurring catastrophes being among the most popular. These theories try to fill in the gaps in our knowledge with fascinating stories. The Nibiru cataclysm theory talks about a wandering planet, Nibiru, which supposedly enters our solar system every 3,600 years, and causes chaos with its strong gravitational pull. This idea comes mainly from ancient texts that describe the big disruptions this planet supposedly caused. But then there's Randall Carlson, who has a background in geology and a deep interest in mythology. He supports his theories with solid geological and astronomical evidence. Carlson believes that natural disasters, like comet impacts, volcanic eruptions, and ice ages, have been the real forces behind Earth's big changes. Carlson's self-taught geology and passion for myths have convinced him that these natural events have shaped our planet for thousands of years. While the Nibiru theory blames all major disasters on a single mythical planet, you might wonder if there's some truth to the idea that Earth's troubles are tied to this mysterious Nibiru. After all, something must have caused the noticeable changes in the climate we see. The idea of Nibiru, rooted deeply in ancient mythology, not only reminds us of our fascination with the cosmos, but also makes us think about how ancient civilizations understood and related to their world. The involvement of gods in human affairs, whether it was Shamash acting as a heavenly guide or Ninsun stepping in to help her son, shows just how close and complex the relationship between gods and humans was in these old stories. These tales, full of divine interference and drama, paint a picture of a world where the line between Earth and the heavens was often crossed. The role of the Anunnaki in these stories, shifting from direct divine involvement to being symbols of the heavens, shows how people's views of the gods evolved over time. This change, from gods being active participants in human life to becoming symbols in the night sky, reflects a cultural shift in how people saw the influence and presence of the divine in their daily lives. Beyond the heroics, we dive into ancient wisdom and see how these stories still connect with us today, decoding the secrets of ancient sky watchers. When it comes to survival, the difference between those who just got lucky and those who prepared for tough times shows how much ancient societies valued resilience and foresight. The ability to see danger coming and get ready for it shows just how observant and strategic these ancient communities were. But what's really fascinating is how these ancient stories and modern theories, like the idea of Nibiru or Carlson's thoughts on natural disasters, make us think about how we understand the world around us. These theories, while helping us bridge gaps in our understanding, also make us question the accuracy and origins of our historical and scientific beliefs. Throughout history, gods and celestial beings have always had a significant influence on human life, shaping the beliefs and actions of ancient civilizations. The intriguing stories of Nibiru from ancient Mesopotamia and Phaethon from Greek mythology offer a glimpse into how early cultures tried to understand the universe. Phaethon, believed to be the child of the sun god Helios, was thought to drive the sun's chariot across the sky each day. These tales show how important celestial bodies were in early human understanding, with many believing that these heavenly objects directly affected life on Earth. Zecharia Sitchin's book, The 12th Planet, combined ancient myths with modern astronomy and theories about extraterrestrial life, creating a story that has sparked both interest and controversy. Sitchin introduced the idea of Nibiru, a hidden planet that supposedly enters our solar system every 3,600 years in a long, oval-shaped orbit. He claimed that this idea came from his interpretations of ancient Sumerian texts, which he believed described this mysterious 12th celestial body, including the sun and moon. Many people are fascinated by the idea of connecting old myths with modern astronomical discoveries. These stories suggest that our ancestors might have known more about the cosmos than we give them credit for. However, Sitchin's theories, especially his links between celestial patterns and supposed alien activities, have been met with doubt by scientists, who prefer explanations backed by solid evidence rather than speculative readings of ancient texts. But here's the twist. Despite the skepticism, there's a continued interest in linking ancient stories with celestial events. This fascination reveals our deep-seated desire to connect with the past and understand the universe. It's as if we're looking for a bigger story written in the stars, one that places us not just on Earth, but within a grand cosmic narrative. Whether these tales are true or just imaginative creations, they continue to captivate and sometimes mislead those eager to find our place in the universe. These stories aren't just about understanding the universe, they're also about finding a sense of belonging. They tap into our need to be part of something greater, to believe that our ancestors were connected to a universe full of wonders. The ancient stories of gods like Marduk and phenomena like Nibiru show that people long ago blended their everyday lives with the movements of the stars. This mix of divine and astronomical elements in stories from places like Sumer and Babylon reveals a deep connection with the heavens, one that went beyond simple observation to something more profound and personal. Are ancient tales of gods and celestial events historical truths or mere myths? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, leave a comment, and subscribe for more.